Hello and welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle. Tonight, we're talking about something every Disney fan loves: where to find the best spots for those magical photos of Walt Disney World. From hidden gems to classic favourites, we'll share all the tips you need to make sure your pictures are truly special. So grab a cuppa, sit back, and join us as we explore the most photogenic spots across the parks.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I
Happy Wednesday, everybody. So thank you for joining us tonight. As you can see, I'm not alone. And joining me, we have John. Hi, John.
Hi,
How are
Ben.
you?
I'm very well, considering it's only Wednesday, Ben. I'm going to start off on that footing, but thankfully, like we've said the past few weeks, you get to a Wednesday, you get to do this show, and suddenly you actually realise the weekend's not far away. Actually, yeah, we can actually move on a little bit. But
do you know what?
yeah.
I think this is the first show I've done in quite a few weeks.
It
Because
is.
I wasn't on last week's show because of jet lag.
Welcome home.
It feels a little bit weird reminding myself where everything is, and I know Becca was in charge last week. So
Yeah.
But as also you can see, we're not alone. I'd also like to welcome Neil from Portwood Travel. Hi, Neil. How are you?
Hello. Good evening. Yeah, great. Thank you. Great. Good to see you both.
Yeah.
It's good to have you. It's good to have you back on the show, and I think that for me is a really important thing, because actually, I think we keep saying, if we get people back who have got, we never pretend that we're expert at anything. We just all have a shared passion, and during the course of thinking, oh, Neil's come back on the show, I went back and listened back to we did a podcast, I think, a good long while back, and that was very, very. We went into some really deep sort of technical photography bits on that show. So that kind of acts as a little bit of it kind of goes aside what we're going to do tonight, and I think that's a really nice thing. So if you're a real photography absolute fanatic, look back on the list of stuff that we've done previously. We do go quite deep on the photographic bit, and actually that's at that point that's where me and taking pictures sort of depart. It's the sort of the finer
John,
detail.
I did my research too as well. It was in April 2023.
There you go. You see,
yeah. So if anyone wants to go back and listen to on the podcast, and also it's on YouTube as well. So
sure, it seems only 6 months ago.
I think I was actually full of COVID as well. I struggled my way through it.
Oh no! Oh, but yeah, no, it's great to have you. And talking of podcasts, there's a little bit of housekeeping, so don't forget we had a brand new podcast episode out yesterday, where we shared our experiences and planning for the best Halloween event of the year, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party.
And it was, and some of the feedback I've had off people already about the show is that actually they're going next year, and they know that they can actually use everything that we've talked about to help plan that trip, which is great, because that's actually how we'd intended the show to work out. So not just to look at what's there this year, but how you actually get yourself to go to the Halloween party in the future. So it's a really.
I actually managed to catch up with that today. Really good listen. Great show.
Oh, good. Oh, it's always good to get feedback straight away. I love this. It's so good. The other thing, I think it'd be remiss of us. I'm going to go there because I've been in a bad mood since my phone just went mental this afternoon. Right. So, Lightning Lane Plus with dollar signs. You just put the dollar sign repeatedly after it, right? And you're just thinking, oh my word, what on earth is going through anyone's head on the Disney board who thinks that's actually acceptable? And we probably will end up doing a whole ranty show about it.
I think we could do a show.
I think a whole rant about it, Ben. I've just got to be careful how
Claire's away. Robin and Simon are away.
Yeah.
They've left us to be this chaotic show. I think we talk about it.
That only usually happens. Chaos only usually happens when you go away, Ben, because nobody knows what buttons are pressed.
I have to admit, I didn't watch back any of the shows, so maybe I need to. See what I missed.
Oh, look back! Yeah, you've got a big bathtub from the one that we went when we went on bar crawl. Yeah, and we said to
Is that
everyone,
going to hit the Mickey Waffle credit card then?
I think so. Yeah, you're down for everyone's round in the in the Tamboo Lounge, I think it was. But yeah, we did quite well, Ben. I was quite impressed. Yeah, we've had a steady ship over the past few weeks. Maybe what we need to do is going to be part of the Disney board is stop making stupid decisions like they continually seem to do. You know.
Dare I say it's been a steadier ship than Ben's ship in the storm.
Oh yes, definitely. I
Yeah.
have to admit that that video that I shared in the chat yesterday, it was interesting. I had my GoPro just set up during the storm.
Yeah.
Just to see, and yeah, it was interesting. And I'd highly recommend not going to Paolo just before that storm hit. So full of 5 courses full of food, and then that constant storm for 7 hours didn't make for the best day when we were supposed to be at Grand Cayman. But it's all sorted. So we the rest of the cruise was amazing. So I can't wait to, and we've also got a placeholder booked for the next one.
Yeah, that's all right. That's what you want.
I can't wait to go on the next one. We've already been looking at what cruise, especially with them talking about the Disney Adventure today, to go out to Singapore. I'd love to do that. Not sure whether that's going to be on our list, but I think we're going to do the Destiny. That's my plan.
Nice.
Oh,
Either I can convince Becca or not, or we end up back on the fantasy. But it's always when first time on the cruise ship, you're always going to go back. I think you'll agree with that, Neil.
100%. 100%. You get the bug, and unfortunately, it becomes a costly one, just like Orlando does.
It's just interesting with holidays in general, isn't it? You go somewhere, a bit like Orlando, and you just you get the bug, and you go, okay. As soon as you get back, you're already planning the next one.
Yeah, it's the only way to get over it, isn't it? I think, we've all three of us recently been to Orlando, and we're all just probably long enough back to have got now perhaps over the blues, and we're all focusing on the next one. When's the next countdown?
I think I'm still struggling with that, Neil, and I think that's and that is the thing, is that you come back and you have this absolutely massive void, and you're just like, you've got nothing to plan. I've not even got to trip reporting stage, because actually I'm just in my own mind. I'm just like, I still don't want to be home. Yeah. Which is never a good feeling when it's where you have to be for so long, isn't it?
It doesn't help when the weather is the way it is at the minute.
Yeah,
I'd much rather have Florida storm than the storm we've got in the UK.
That's true. And there you go, Ben. We're doing well there. We're on the bingo card. We mentioned weather in the first 8 minutes. Weather. There we go. We're done. That's it. We wouldn't be British if we didn't.
Is that it? The show's done now.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, no, we've already got 2 countdowns in the pipeline, so I can't complain.
Well, that'll see you through. That'll see you through. That's what you need.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah. So should we get back to topic?
Let's do that, because actually that would be really impressive. It really would.
So I think it's one of those things. Photography has always been that growing trend in part of our Disney holiday. I know for myself, it's always been, or more recently, ever since doing the Mickey Waffle, that a lot of it's been sort of social media focused, Instagram focused. What's the snack you take a picture of? Where do you take a picture? And that is going to showcase what you want. John, what do you focus on? Because I know you've mentioned so many times that a lot of yours is in writing and doing your trip reports.
Yeah,
did you find that this year it was very different?
No, because I found it really difficult to get back into that mode of taking pictures at the right time to complement what you think you're going to write about, and that becomes a problem, because you actually, if you're on that bit where you go regularly, which we were 5 years ago, so you get in that mindset of, right, okay, on travel day I need to take a picture of this, and this. When I'm there, I want a picture of this, and this, and you get into like a groove. What happened this year was the fact that it kind of all felt completely new again, which brought with it a completely different feeling. And yeah, I'm looking now and I've got massive gaps on days where I hardly took pictures. I chose not to take my camera because I relied on the phone. And actually, did I miss my camera? A little bit, but not enough to justify carrying it around day after day. The phone became quite a useful thing. I got a gimbal thinking I would take a load of video. Did I take a load of video? No, I didn't, because actually I like pictures, and actually I like a record of just daft things. Yeah, like you say, food photos. You know, it sounds really odd, but if you actually take a food photo of something in a certain place, you can go back and then reference it the next time you're there, albeit 5 years later, and say, last time we had this, it was really good. And it's little bits like that, and you just use it as a little aside to the memories of your holiday, but also as a way of just plotting what you did that was different that day. And I know we'll go in and we'll expand upon sort of different locations, but it's how, I really love taking bad photos. And if you go on the safari, you're going to get so many pictures of the backside of zebras and things like that. If I take pictures of fireworks, you're going to get so many pictures that are blurred, that are out of focus, because actually the camera can't cope with the speed of the firework, or you just haven't got it on the right setting and stuff. Does it matter? No, because actually you're there. And I think what became apparent this year for me was I didn't want to see things through a lens. I wanted to just see it, and I just wanted to see it in real life. And if I forget it as I get older, that's fine, because I've actually seen it properly. And I would say I've probably taken less photographs this year than ever before, but that's been a deliberate choice, and that's why we just put it to one side sometimes, and we just decided, no, that's it, enough. I'm just going to watch. I'm going to watch my own two eyes. I'm just going to load myself with loads and loads of emotional memories, because actually in this day and age, you can just go online, and unfortunately, if you're like I am, and you're on Facebook and someone's picture there, you can actually use their picture to just highlight what you're actually trying to say. You don't actually have to. It acts as a little sort of accompaniment to what you're saying. It's not necessarily your photo. And I think Neil's very clever, because what he does with loads of his pictures, he puts the little watermark in the corner. It then becomes his property. You can't use it without permission. And I think that for me is a very good way of actually being able to share your photos actually online, because of people like me.
Many people still take them and crop out watermarks, and you can't stop
with
it.
the use of AI now, you can remove watermarks easy, and it's stuff like that. But the whole point is, Neil, you'll probably agree that it's what goes into your photos. It's the time, the effort that you put in, the equipment you use, going to find the right spot. It's very different for someone taking their phone out of their pocket and just snapping a photo because that's their moment.
Yeah, but I mean, both have a place, and I think John's right in the sense of when you do something repeatedly, and he was in that sort of zone for many years, you're looking for something a little bit different, and I did that. I was fortunate enough to go on a very regular basis, and I decided I wanted something a bit more rather than chasing around for the rides, and I ventured into photography and got deeper into it and bought more and more expensive equipment to try different things. But nowadays, obviously, it is an instant world. It's Instagram, and there is a danger to, as you just alluded to there, John, about living in the moment and seeing things with your own eyes. And you can get a bit caught up with the phone and taking pictures. But I think as we've progressed in life and business and so on, we've probably gone a little bit more phone out, taking pictures for stories, for content. But to me, it runs side by side. There's room for both in that sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I do like the technical side of it more.
I find that really fascinating, because I know Neil and I have spoken about this previously, and I, even with the camera, I'm very much one where, I'll go for settings that I've already got, but I'll basically go and just point and shoot and see what happens. Whereas Neil, you're very, very deliberate in how you go about it. Your mind for what will make a very good photograph.
I think about the shot before I take the shot, rather than just snapping the shot.
And that's the difference, I think there's so many times where you've been able to see something. There was one in Magic Kingdom, and again, it's one of those photos, and I think we shared it on the the podcast version ages ago. I'm just trying to look for it. It's the one of the Liberty Bell, and just put it on the screen there. But to actually have the vision to actually use the gallows with the Liberty Bell away in the background, for me was just like, talk about framing something, and actually given what has been announced this year in respect of the whole of that area, that becomes even more poignant with actually getting that whole bit with the stocks there, and you've got that picture of the Liberty Bell right through that large headspace in there, and I just thought that'll always remain as like, what do you think of something like that? Because it's just like, usually when I walk past there's a kid who's probably had the picture taken about 25 times by the mother because they're not smiling or something like that, and you're like, let's move to this side. I'll take a picture of the boat as it coming into dock or whatever like that. But actually, to take that example and actually use what else is around, that's the skill, and that's the bit that's the reason you're on the show, because you can see stuff like that. And
I think probably for that picture as well, if I'm honest, I probably will have spent a couple of goes round with that, because the first time somebody, and you don't want to stop people taking their own pictures in the stocks, you step back and you let them go, and then but I have spent many an hour just waiting for the right picture for people, and I'm sure the family at many a time have gone off and done their own thing and left me to it.
But that really highlights actually the forever changing things that are happening in the parks, whether it's someone walking past but actually when we think that Big Thunder next year is closing for over a year, how are things in the parks going to change with things like Villains Land coming in the next decade? There's a lot of things that are changing. So every time someone might go to a park, there's always going to be that different opportunity to get a different photo. I know Frontierland for us has always been a great place to get photos. We love Big Thunder Mountain.
Yeah, but that whole area there with the water reflection and Tom Sawyer's Island, there's so many different angles that you can get pictures of. And what I've always wanted in my captures is to kind of take away a little bit from the fact that you're in a theme park. So not making it as obvious and trying to always get people in the shots and things like that. So that whole area is fantastic day and night. And sadly, it'll be a thing of the past.
Don't get me started on that one. I'll get banned, won't I, again, for having a rant. I think that's the other thing to bear in mind as well, because you're talking about taking hours, but it depends where you're looking. And I think if we stay within Magic Kingdom, the whole place, if you are taking one photograph at 10 a.m. in the morning, if you went and took it every single hour and just look at how the light changes, how again, when you get to that magical hour, that sort of hour before sunset, and the reflections on the water change, the sky changes, and a lot of people don't think about it. You just think again about the here and now. But if you deliberately set out and look at how some of the colours just stand out, and I'm thinking Big Thunder Mountain in particular is one where you get that reflection of the setting sun, and it's got a different glow about it. It's absolutely a beautiful ride to actually take a picture of. But you've got the opportunity of looking back into the park and looking back at Cinderella Castle and how that on the skyline just looks that little bit different as well. And I think that for me is the exciting part. And if a lot of people don't notice it, it's just there you go, take a picture of the kids, there we go, click, gone. But if you're actually looking at it, you can go back and just take a completely different photo, and just because the light has changed and because it's a different, not even dark, because the difference between night and day is quite profound I think within all the parks, but just certainly time of day, and just bear in mind that you can take a picture maybe just 2 hours later and it'll look completely different.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of my favorite ever pictures is as you've kind of just alluded to, from Thunder Mountain looking back up. So the mill is on your left hand side, and the castle at the bottom end. One of my favourite pictures that I've ever taken there.
You see, I'm now trying to look down the list of photos that we've got.
I might not have sent it, actually. I don't know.
Maybe not. That's fine. That's even better, because actually that works. That works for the guys who are listening to the podcast on Friday who haven't got the thing. And I think as well, Neil, I think that's another thing to actually come back to. Tom Sawyer Island is a brilliant place to just go and find those quirky angles that you don't kind of get within a proper theme park, and you just get that whole, everything seems kind of different. And if you're on Liberty Bell and you're going around and you're looking back in on even on Haunted Mansion looks different as you're on that circular loop, and you're like, it doesn't, you can't, if you do it for the first time, you kind of look and you're like, it doesn't look like that when we're in the queue. And it has that real sort of change. And this is a beauty of things that are well designed. You get the chance to see them at a different angle, and you're thinking, aesthetically, that is something quite to behold. And, you know, that's the bit I enjoy. I think that for me is not just looking at the photo, but just actually seeing the actual design and seeing how the park has actually been put together.
And I think that's the thing. Next time someone's in Magic Kingdom or any of the parks, just take that moment just to look around. So put your phone down, look at the surroundings, and look at things from a different angle that you're used to. Because I think it's so easy to walk down Main Street and just focus on Cinderella's castle, because that's where you're headed. But how many times on the show we've mentioned things like the windows, the names in the windows, the different architecture, the design as you walk through. It is so heavily themed and designed that it's not something you would think of as a theme park.
No, but I think that, again, just goes back to why I know what you're saying about put the phone down and enjoy the moment and take it in, but that's why I actually picked up the camera, because we go back to that old saying of slowing down to see more, etc. And I felt that with that camera in my hand and actually looking at compositions and looking at things, I started to appreciate far more the design and the theatre of it, more than I've got to get a fast pass and I've got to get over here and I've got to, so I do put the phone down, but also pick it up, take the picture, but, don't live in it.
My Disney experience on social media, but have your camera app open.
Yeah, I think as well, though, and I think that's quite a good thing to actually come to as well, Neil, because actually it kind of goes hand in hand with an awful lot of what we've spoken about, certainly this year, looking at Imagineers and things like that. But the minute you start to just stop actually on that pursuit of either a ride or an attraction or a show, and you actually take into account what's there and why it actually has been put there, it then makes you look at a theme park in a completely different way. And I think that for me is something that is so special. And I think, for as much as I'm having a grumpy Disney day about lightning lanes, I think that's the important thing to actually take from this, is the fact that everything that's been put there has actually been thought about, has been actually, I'm saying everything. And then in the back of my mind comes in the whole notion of getting rid of Tom Sawyer Island, and I'm thinking what abomination is going to appear in that area. But maybe that'll come in the next few years worth of Great British Mickey Waffle, and I'll continue to have a rant about. But it's slowing down and just actually knowing that what you're taking a picture of is actually deliberate. I think that's.
But hopefully in these new spaces, we're going to find the new photos, the new angles, and the new theming that works. I mean, some of the concept art that is showing for just the area around the cars theme bit is going to be. I'm sure there's going to be some great backdrops and some great angles and some new angles to take fireworks in the background, and it'll all come. It'll all find its own place. But it is sad to see some of the classics.
Yeah.
But you know, if
Yeah.
we've got those photos in our locker, then we've always got them to look back on, haven't we?
Yeah, that's a nice way of looking at it. And I must admit, I think about two or three shows ago, or might be the podcast, but talking about going into Epcot, which I'd really got to the stage where, with all the change that had gone on there, I was really sort of on the back foot about, you know, because I'm quite a cynic when it comes to taking out stuff that's been there before. I don't think people on a Wednesday night really appreciate just how cynical I can actually be. But I think when I went into Epcot, I was actually blown up. I was blown away with just how well it was done. I actually felt as if someone looking at Moana and the Journey of Water in particular, something that is so completely simple to have put together. They've gone to way beyond what you would have thought Imagineering for them would have been. So I actually feel that, you know, we've got to put trust in people to keep this whole notion of detail and the whole Imagineering tradition alive, rather than just sort of cutting and pasting the line from a different place and then just building it as cheap as you can.
As long as we don't have the person who designed Communicore Hall?
Communicore Hall, and also the person responsible for the lighting within Epcot in that new central area, which the lighting itself doesn't seem to be working efficiently whatsoever, according to.
It hasn't done from day one.
No, it wasn't when we were there, and it's got worse. I think there's a lot of whinging going on Twitter this week about it's got.
And that's just you.
Yeah, it's very dark,
yeah.
and it's yeah. We had a picture taken by the Walt statue, and to be perfectly honest, you couldn't make out our faces in it. It was so dark, it was so dim.
No.
Yeah, I will share it in the Waffler's Arms. We had a person come back, take a few photos, and it doesn't look great at all. It just needs to be well lit. But yeah.
Oh, see, I thought that was a me thing, right? Because I've got a similar photo, but it's taken during the day.
Yeah.
Right, so obviously lighting isn't an issue. However, you've got the Walt statue, and you've got us as a family sat on Walt's plinth. I'm being polite. I'm not going to describe his toilet. I won't go there. But you've got the whole of Spaceship Earth in the background, and yet the photographer's it's got half of Spaceship Earth in it. So it kind of aesthetically, again, for me, it just doesn't work as a photograph. If you're going to take that photo and you've got a family picture, you've got Walt in the middle, you want Spaceship Earth as a whole in the same picture. And it's just like, it surely can't be that difficult, because that's how it was originally designed. And actually, for me, that was one of the biggest disappointments. And I think I'm quite glad you've had a similar thought there in the same spot, because some of the photos that you get from PhotoPass in particular this year have been superb and back on par with what was previously available. And that for me is the one spot where it seems as if there needs to be a little bit of staff training. I'll put it that way. Is that the polite way of putting it?
I do think certainly over the years the standard of PhotoPass photographers has varied quite. You know, you can get some exceptional photographers, and then you do get some that I don't know.
There's some that don't know one side of the camera from the other, which does become an issue, and you look back and you think, oh, right, okay. And that's been the good thing about it being on your mobile, because actually you look at the picture, it arrives there quite nigh on instantaneously, and you're thinking, yeah, I didn't quite like that as it was being taken, and you look at it and you think, no, it just doesn't work. And yet you get some that go, some of them go to the absolute nth degree, and you know that what they are doing, because they're actually using the camera and they're actually taking the photo, that will be one of the ones that you will use, you will look at, you'll print out for grandparents, and it's that whole one. You just know that is going to make it a cool photo.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I know we had one in the summer outside Fantasmic, Josh was wearing a Fantasmic t-shirt, and the PhotoPass photographer I knew what she was trying to do as she was taking it, and for her, I think it was just because of the t-shirt and stuff like that, and she was trying to do something completely different, and it didn't work. But I would much rather someone took a photo that didn't work, and you actually had that experience of somebody experimenting with the camera and experimenting with the shot, because actually I feel that really made me really appreciate what they're trying to do. If somebody's got that ability to actually pick a photo and actually see it in their mind, a bit like we're saying that you try and do, Neil, but to have that from a cast member within a theme park who in a lot of cases are quite inexperienced photographers, some of them are very experienced, but having that ability, have the belief in yourself to take a photo that is different, and I really love that. I think it's a really good opportunity. I'd also say thank you, Heather, because your little comment there about apparently the nations with spaceship Earth in the background. Yeah, just take a moment to remember that, because it was a beautiful picture. Yeah.
And John, you're right about PhotoPass photographers. You never know what you're going to get at the time. I remember once we were leaving Hollywood Studios and we just called a PhotoPass photographer on the way out, but we were there for another half an hour. I think and he was just we had about 40 different photos taken from this one PhotoPass photographer outside, just taking different shots, doing different poses. We're doing Star Wars. We're just doing so many different things. It was just, he really enjoyed what he was doing. And the photos are one of the best we've ever had.
Yeah. So I've not even got to, there's a new kind of 360 camera that's at about 2 or 3 different spots in the parks that we had a bit of fun with. One in Epcot, one in Animal Kingdom. I think one is occasionally somewhere else, but we didn't find that. But we had these pictures, and it was a 360 camera, and you're all around. They pick an iconic background. The one in Animal Kingdom was right underneath the Tree of Life, but at the back side of it, so it didn't get a lot of traffic. And so you actually begin to see how they're trying to use technology to make your family pictures that little bit different, and that was a nice thing to see. But also, I'm aware we've not even got properly into the topic of what we were going to talk about. But the photo comes home, you make that choice, and you actually get that chance of it going, okay, I like that one, I don't like that one. And we're very privileged. I think going back to a few Wednesdays ago, and we're talking about Epcot, and we're talking about parks sort of from the 90s and stuff, and the photos that we have, the photos are absolutely rubbish that you can't really share with people, but yet they're so important as part of maybe only 20 or 30 pictures that you took, because that was you only went with one film and you clicked and you didn't know what it was going to be like, and you discarded a load of them. Now the instant access to what you've taken, either on a camera, on a phone, you then have the opportunity of saying, okay, that didn't quite work, let's try it again in 5 minutes, and let's see if we get a different background. We don't have people interfering, we don't have people sort of walking down in the background, we've got a clear shot at it. And that's the difference. We really are in an age where we can actually really make a real good use of what's being deliberately put in these parks.
Absolutely.
Shall we go through a little bit of a walkthrough? So if we went to Magic Kingdom, whereabouts would you say are the best places in Magic Kingdom that you would take a photograph without fail? I know I've got one or two myself that I actually feel that would be good. Ben, what about you as well? Because
I think we mentioned it already, but Big Thunder was always one that always used to be our favourite spot. But we always used to love, and with the PhotoPass photographer was always good. We were there for it was Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party in 2019. It was raining all the way through the party. We were completely drenched, but we was walking past Rapunzel's, the tangled toilets, and the photo set up there with the lantern, and it was just the rain was coming down quite hard at the time, so the photo shot we got, it was just blur in the background, and it's just us holding the lantern.
Nice.
And see, that adds to it in a way, because it's
It sounds really weird when you tell someone that one of your best places to get a photo is the toilets.
yeah, it is though. It is one of those. It is one of those absolute priceless places as well.
And it's a place you walk past during the day and you don't really notice. You notice a little bit of the theming, and that's what you focus when you're walking past. But when it's turning to the evening time and it's dark and it's lit up, it just takes on a completely different atmosphere.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's a really gorgeous place to actually take pictures. You know, it's just the lighting is superb. Neil, what about you?
For Magic Kingdom, I mean, can you initially look past the castle? I mean, from every angle, it's beautiful, and there's so many unique shots you can take. But I think if anybody is just wanting the family shot in there, but with limited people, then I think it's if you're on site, a good use of your early hours to be able to try and get in on a quieter park, or try and book an early breakfast that you can get in ahead of the park opening, and you can get a fairly empty main street, and so you can get some really nice shots of the family without too many people in it, and equally staying as late as you can after the park has shut, and actually closing the park down if you can. Some tremendous shots can be got at night time as well. So I think you can't really look past the castle if you're looking for a shot.
And especially that staying late, because I think over the past couple of years we've spent a lot of time in the park right up till closing and past. I think when we left for the Halloween party, we left at 1:30 in the morning, and it was one of the last ones on Main Street, just to get that last shot of the castle.
Yeah.
But during the day, it can be so packed round the hub, and everybody's piling in for the same pictures and the parades and whatever. And it's nice to get to capture shots with people in it. It gives some energy. But if you are trying to limit the people, then I think there's certain times that you can do that as well.
I think as well when you go to the left, particularly at night time, because you get that beautiful reflection in the water. So you walk up to the hub, take a left as if you're going to the Hall of Presidents, and cross the bridge, and just by the funnel cake shop, if you actually stop, you will get the castle and a full reflection. And I think it's deliberate. I think the way that they've actually done this, because you do get the full castle in reflection in the water. And I just find, for me, that is one place where you just, I think you have to stop, and you have to. And I think I lost the family this summer because I was just looking for that one picture. I was looking for it so that I could get it, and it was just like, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. We can move on. We can move on now. And then I'm looking around and going, well, everyone's gone. Everyone was just like that. Leave them to it. Yeah, we'll catch us up later. That's it.
But again, the beauty of that sort of angle is because you've just got the water in front of you, you haven't got people. And it's the same if you sort of head towards Tomorrowland and go across the bridge, and the rock formations by Stitch and by Monsters Inc. There, you can sort of get in and again take some pictures. There's nobody in. It's water. It's bushes. It's trees. You just don't look like you're in a theme park, and you could be in a park, a natural park somewhere. It's and that's the beauty in the daytime.
I think that's a really good point, Neil. And I think as well, Reese's comment there about being at the top of the Swiss Family Treehouse, again, not a place that loads of people go to, but at different times of the day, you're going to get a completely different perspective. And
I will admit that we've still never been up the treehouse.
Easy, Ben. So 5 minutes, you just walk up. You walk up the stairs, you walk down the stairs.
We get distracted because round there you can get a Dole Whip or a citrus swirl, and it's like, okay.
I think as well, I've got a picture. I will need to dig it out. It's from a few years ago, but I've got a picture of just from around that area, around about dusk, and then it's got the flying carpets and Aladdin's lamp at the top of the flying carpets. It's just like it's got like as much as it's golden in its own look, the way that the sunset was actually framing it, it just looks completely different than you would ever see. And you, when you look and you think, where'd that come from? And you're just like, it's just being in the right place at the right time, the right picture. And what I find, I know, I think Neil, you were saying about some of the rocks around Tomorrowland as well, because I know they went through that phase of repainting them, that kind of bluey kind of
asteroid
kind of whatever color, I don't quite know, which strangely enough is wearing off quite quickly, and looking as if it's aged quite badly. And I think that was more or less aimed at sort of that whole sort of Instagram sort of feel of having that Instagram background and stuff. But if you use it and actually look beyond it just as a background and look in towards the hub and the castle, it becomes a completely different thing. And also getting the Tomorrowland sign in as well, because I've got a thing about that. I just think it's the most beautiful thing to take a picture of. And probably on the same subject as well, let's not forget, if you're on the People Mover, I know it's moving, I know it's difficult because you never remember which side of the car to actually sit in, but the People Mover is the most amazing thing to take a photo, just because it's a view that you don't get from either, pavement level, and it changes your perspective of what you're actually seeing.
If you time that right as well,
I've been on People Mover. We've broken down on it quite a few times recently.
That's even better.
There's no excuse. It was perfect. It was like we got a great castle shot.
Yeah, there's no excuse if it's broken down. There's no excuse for not taking decent pictures. Go on, Neil. What are you going to say?
If you can ride it time-wise, sort of at sunset as well, you get some beautiful shots coming around there. Sunset with rain. The rain has just finished on that one.
Wow.
There you go. Look at that. Perfect. That is lovely. And again, just
I prefer that Tomorrowland sign, I must say, than the new one.
Yeah. I actually got to see that in the summer as well. The old one is in Cast Connections.
Oh, is it?
Just saying, yeah. They've kept it. There's a little treasure trove in Cast Connections.
Oh, I'd love to know what else they've got.
I've got a couple of pictures, but not allowed to share them.
Secrets.
Wait. We'll wait until maybe beyond the time where Josh and Morgan are tied into the whole Disney contract type stuff as well. Like,
Okay. So, are there any other spots in Magic Kingdom that we think make good photos? I know a lot of people go for the purple wall in Tomorrowland, but that's probably more because it's the Instagram spot.
Nah, I don't get that. But then I don't do Instagram, so that's probably me just showing me age.
I must admit, I've never taken a picture there myself, but I get it. It is. Yeah. It has become a thing, and people want to capture that shot, and they do make some interesting. If you the angles, and I think some props, you get a Mickey balloon or something in there, and I think you can get some interesting angles. But it's not on my bucket list of pictures, but it is for many people.
I think the introduction of Tron as well, just particularly at night time, just given the way that the ride is actually lit, is another one that just adds another little flip into that whole Magic Kingdom photography set as well. You don't get many good, decent photos, but if you go and you're just looking for the bit where you've got the ride vehicle and it's lit with sort of the blue lighting and the overhangers is actually quite nice.
I think pretty much anything around Tomorrowland, when it gets to that dusk and the neon lights coming on, there is actually some interesting, not perhaps in your face pictures that you'd think about, but there's things overhead, and you can get some interesting angles of things as well around Space Mountain and So it's a good area.
Go on, Ben. Move us on. I'm just
Okay.
aware, but yeah, we're going to run a tight ship here.
We've already mentioned Epcot, but I think we should just mention Spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
It is one of those icons that it doesn't matter what angle you get for Spaceship Earth, it's always a good photo, and it doesn't matter where you are in the park.
Yeah,
if
it
you
can.
can get,
Yeah,
I love the new shot from sort of Cosmic Rewind, where you end up getting sort of the ship in with Spaceship Earth in the background. I just think it's really good. That's one of my favourites.
yeah.
So I'm not yet managed to get with the new Moana's water area, and that's something that I would love for different angles. With, I mean, you can't go wrong from any angle with Spaceship Earth, but that would be a new one. I think a new interesting one for my collection of pictures. But from what I've seen of others, it looks really, really smart for angles,
and particularly at night time as well, because that's the way that and I think when they first started putting, I think it must have been 2019. I think we were out at the same time, Neil, and we kind of remarked on the fact that it looked as if the lights that they were starting to put onto the structure of Spaceship Earth looks as if, you know, it was like you buy sort of you buy 100 for $10 on Amazon and stuff like that, because they were just really visible during the day. That has kind of progressed on. The actual light show itself that is now on Spaceship Earth when it goes dark is just something else, and it becomes visible just from miles and miles and miles around. And it's, you know, it's that bit of treating a park icon with a little bit of respect and actually making it truly iconic, not just whilst you're in the park, but actually whilst you're like miles away, you see it and you're just like, you're in the car and you're like, whoa, look at that. And it's just, it really is, it is something else. And I think that for me is something that you can actually have a real good bit of fun with, just to how you can get a different look at it. But again, when you're going around, we'll showcase itself.
I was just going to say, we will showcase. It adds such an interesting perspective to it. There's so many different angles that you can bring into the foreground and get Spaceship Earth in the background and play with compositions and compression, and it makes for a great subject to take pictures of. Yeah,
there you go, Ben. That's exactly what I was thinking. You know, the use of different parts of World Showcase, be it in Italy, be it in Japan, even when you're in sort of parts where you then start framing Spaceship Earth with, even when the tacos were there, it then became a real challenge to actually get that sort of, that whole sort of thing in your own photo properly aligned. When
you can never get the Stargate lined up.
Yeah, it was all I was thinking. Someone should have called Neil and just said, look, it doesn't work from a photographic
point. It was like,
it doesn't. It never
did.
Like
people installing gone like, is this in the right place? Yeah, that'll do. We'll just leave it there.
Well, it's really odd because actually, it was probably when I was about, when I basically started working, and you were expected to do displays as a teacher and stuff like that. I just like stuff went up on the wall. As you get older, you're not aware of just how OCD you become about things looking right. And I think that's, you know, as I've got older, I've become aware, actually, I suffer quite badly from things like that. It just becomes, if it's not ADHD that I think I've got one week, it's OCD the next, and you're just like, oh, there's nothing down for me. There's certainly nothing down for my family, because it just becomes, no, that's not happening. It just doesn't look right at all, you know.
Attention to detail, I like to call it.
Is that what it is, Neil? There you go. I become, that's a nice way of describing it. I think
I've just found a couple of photos that I took when we were in, was it Moana? And it's just, there's so many good photos, and just the proximity to Spaceship Earth.
And I think that's the thing, Ben. I think everyone's got to go and see it, and just I would love to go again next year, just so that and get beyond that bit where you're just looking and you just take it in something that's completely new, and then you can go again and say, right, okay, I know that that's there. Let's detach myself from it, and let's look at how you can actually make a photographic shot something, something really special. Because I just went through, I was more bold. I don't think I've got any decent pictures of it because I was just looking at the actual detail of the design. It's just like that is just, and you're just like, wow, that's great. And then just I've not even got the phone out to take a picture. It's like,
especially the bit where you walk through the sort of the curtain of water.
Yeah.
No,
there's loads of it.
Yeah,
it's loads. I think as well. I think one of the things that a lot of people forget is when you go into some of the pavilions, the major pavilions as well, because one of the things that's always a tradition, even if you go in the Imagination Pavilion, which again, I know I've said before, is a shadow of its former self, just as a course of complete habit, I will always make sure I take a picture of Robin Williams' picture on the wall as you walk in. And it's just one of them things. It's like, yep, Robin Williams is still here. And for as long as Robin Williams is on that wall as I'm walking into Figment, life is good. And it's just that little bit of a memory, just a little bit of a nod. But if you go to the Land Pavilion, some of the colours within there become really quite sort of, I think, is just such an understated part of what Epcot's about. And I don't want to keep going on about it because we did talk the other week about this. And also, I was proved right and regarding the fact that the balloons did move. And I think it was Heather who helped me on that as well. So it wasn't, and I think it was Wendy as well. It's not just me. Those balloons used to move up and down. It was beautiful. Just saying.
there are so many, like you said, John, about the pavilions. There's so many different areas of each one that to go and explore to get a different shot, and that you wouldn't think you're in a theme park. How many times we've spent sort of different times over Christmas a couple of years ago, and we saw all the all the things for Festival of the Holidays. So we're at the right deep into the United Kingdom, right at the back, while something was going on. But there were just so many different shots and so many different areas that I'd probably not even thought about. And just while we were there waiting, you just look at the architecture, you look at your surroundings. There's so many different shots you could probably get, and a different time of day can add a different atmosphere.
Yeah,
I think that's why Epcot is a firm favourite. I mean, certainly our favourite park, and I think it is with a lot of Disney adults now. And it's not just the drinking around the world; it's just the immersion in the fact that you're taken away from everything else. You're just in this bubble, and there's so much to see and do in each of the pavilions. And I mean, it always used to make me laugh when Sammy was on the show, and she'd never been into the pavilions, and I just couldn't get my head around that. It was just, there's so much to see, and you get deep inside, and the theme.
I made you laugh. I'm still scarred by that now. I'm scarred for life.
I hope she's managed to get in there now.
If every pavilion had chicken nuggets, I think she'd be okay.
So, I'm just going. Sorry, on World Showcase, I think also you've got to look into the lagoon as well. It's not just about the pavilions, because there's so many interesting shots. We're talking about photography, and particularly again as you get towards sunset, there's nothing like an Epcot sunset, and you can pick some really interesting angles to get your foregrounds, your backgrounds, and such. So yeah, it's not just looking into the pavilions; it's looking out as well.
Can I pick up on that as well, Neil? Because I think it's probably a pertinent part of the show. Before we go to Animal Kingdom and studios, this summer you didn't have a Disney ticket, right? No. But you still went and took photographs. And this is the bit that really intrigued me, because some of the photos that you sent me, when you were just like jaw dropping, and you're just like, oh my word. But again, I think we try and say this as much as we can on the show. You don't actually have to have a Disney ticket to go and take up and just soak in some of the Disney magic as well. So if you're off sort of site, what are your go-to places? And I know you've got a few.
Well, I think just coming back onto that, certainly that's not for everybody. It was quite a tease to get so close to each entrance and not actually go in, but I'd set that mindset long before we were going, and it was something that I think I was trying to convince myself for a very long time that I could go to Orlando, I could go to Disney and not go in, but still get the magic. So I'd kind of already plotted out where I was going to go to absorb, and obviously, apart from Springs and the resorts, there's still in the evening so much going on with fireworks, and fireworks photography is a passion that I like. So I was determined that I was going to get contemporary to watch them, the boat dock to watch them, the Polynesian to watch them, or Grand Floridian, that sort of side. I spent one evening, believe it or not, in the car park at Epcot because I knew that I could get an interesting angle of the fireworks behind Spaceship Earth and the monorail, boardwalk. So there were so many areas that you could go to and still, immerse yourself. But another thing that we do that perhaps not others would do, we actually sit with YouTube on the phone with the show and we press play bang on the time. It's a little bit sad probably, but it means we know from the music, the bursts and things to be able to sort of capture things.
I actually think that's such a really amazing thing to do, just from the fact that you're actually thinking outside the box. But what you get is photographs that are outside the box, and I think that for me is the bit. That for me is the bit where, it seems so easy, doesn't it? Sit in the car park and you actually get that reverse shot. And I know we've spoken ourselves about this, and as much as we loved Illuminations, the actual difference now is that Luminous, in its current form, the actual fireworks show becomes so much more photogenic simply because the fireworks are higher in the sky, and the actual fireworks themselves are what Illumination started off as, until some of the actual technology itself began to sort of age and fail, etc. It got old, a bit like we do. It wasn't working as effectively. But to actually be able to take a photo, I'm just going to put this one because I just think this is one that you take that and you've got the ability to just sort of be on boardwalk and just get in sort of the Yacht and Beach Club lighthouse, and then you've got the whole fireworks show going on in the background, but you begin to see the enormity of a fireworks show from afar, which when you're in the park, you don't get the chance of seeing it. And, again, I just feel that for me was something that's a real big takeaway certainly from your summer. I know there's pictures in the wrong format as well. So, is that the one you were thinking of, getting the monorail? And
yeah, that one I actually cropped so I could have that on the back of my my phone. That's why that's that way. But there is another version of that I probably haven't sent you. But
that's fine. I was just
again just a screensaver.
Yeah, but I just feel that's the extent at which you go to different places. I was actually disappointed because actually, when you ride the Skyliner, it's difficult to get a decent photo shot purely because of the way the Skyliner doesn't,
because of the reflections as well.
Yeah, and
when you're in those cabins, it's not easy to.
But you can see that Neil's probably got to work around that. Maybe not, but I couldn't think of a workaround. I'm thinking, I've gone for a ride in the Skyliner. I would love a beautiful picture looking back in Caribbean Beach. And I'm thinking, it's not happening because we're in one of them cabins that's got a wrap on it, and it's just like my photos are just going to just look.
Well, you can actually, if it's quiet, you can actually ask to wait for one to come round that's not got a wrap, and we've done that. Yeah. But there's still a lot of things going against you to actually get a great shot. Yeah. I have attempted, and I have got some that are acceptable. they wouldn't be hanging on the wall though. Maybe with a bit more time and a bit more thought, I might be able to get something, but certainly not at night time. There's too much reflection, too much going on, too much movement. So,
I think as well, that's probably. I know we're trying to talk about places, but it's also worthwhile pointing out to people that irrespective, it doesn't matter what standard of camera you've got, or whether you've got you using your phone. It might be X, Y, and Z phone that's meant to take the greatest pictures in the world. Sometimes it's not going to happen purely because the light is just not right, and that's the bit that's actually, you just have to accept that, and just accept the fact that the conditions, because of the movement, because of lighting, because of the reflection off the glass, so be it. Soak it up. Remember what you're actually looking at.
Move on and find the next one.
Yeah. I think that's important. Yeah, it really is. So, is there any other little nugget of a place off site? Because I know that we were going to run to time, Ben, but I don't think we are.
I think from off-site, Disney Springs has got so many interesting angles as well. Again, there's a lot to look at, a lot to see. The resorts, spend some time going around the resorts, because particularly things like Art of Animation and the All Stars with some of the big oversized animated characters and things, cars in animation, in Art of Animation. There's some great places to take pictures in resorts. And then obviously you got the traditional.
The first time we went to Art of Animation, we spent about 3-4 hours going around taking photos.
Yeah,
it was something that we'd never been to before, but we've seen all these amazing shots that people have taken of these characters, and because we didn't have a 14-day park ticket, we thought, okay, how can we do something a bit different?
Yeah, and that's something, again, going back to what we were saying before about not having a park ticket this time. For us, we made full use of Disney transportation, and we did all. I think we actually went to every single resort at some point during the fortnight, and either had a drink, had something to eat, took pictures, took video, to immerse ourselves in that sense. So, but there's so much to see and do in the resorts, all free.
Yeah,
I think that's important to remember. It doesn't cost you, and actually, it's the one thing that really frustrated me was once you get into a resort, and I'm thinking even Grand Floridian, you kind of get absorbed in the atmosphere, and so again, it's like it's that daft thing, you because it's new and because it's something that you want to experience. And looking back, I'm thinking we've got the boring one of just taking one of that whole bit from like 3 floors up and looking down onto the atrium, and it's like missed chance there, wasn't it? Like, and you could have just, if you'd just sort of thought about it a little bit more, that's where a good photograph comes from, rather than just camera out, bang, there you go, right, move on.
And it's a different times of year as well, especially the Grand Floridian, for example, when you've got like the gingerbread house and Christmas trees. Especially when we've been in there in like sort of November and December before. It's not only does the smell amazing, but the photos are even better.
Yeah. Shall we dip into the other 2 parts we've not covered, because I'm aware otherwise we're going to run out of time. And
see, I don't. I'm going to say Hollywood Studios to me doesn't fit that thing as being as photogenic. I think just because there's a lot of areas, but at first glance you think that they're semi areas of like Toy Story Land, Galaxy's Edge. But then actually, if you look deeper into those different times of day, we've had some incredible shots of the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, I think Galaxy's Edge is crying out for photos from every angle, and even as somebody who's not a Star Wars fan but can appreciate what it is and what the franchise is and what that part of the park is, there's some brilliant shots, some brilliant angles. So and also Toy Story, Slinky Dog and things like that at night time with the lights and the oversized characters. Again, like we were saying before about art of animation, there's some really fun shots that you can take.
Yeah.
But I think Hollywood studios in general, I think the whole Art Deco side of things and the Hollywood Hills and the, I love Hollywood studios. I love it.
Yeah.
I love just the ambience, the vibe. Obviously, Tower of Terror, great shots of that from a few different angles as well.
Yeah, I must admit, one of my favourite ones. Again, it's one of them ones that you always just take the same picture. I've not put it in the reel of photos we got for tonight. But as you exit Rock and Roller, as you keep well into the left-hand side, and you basically get the guitar, and you got the guitar on the left-hand side of your picture, looking back towards Tower of Terror, and it's just like the two rides kind of connected, and you're just like, yeah, this is where you actually. I really love that part of the park. I just think again at night time it just takes on a different tilt altogether.
Hollywood Boulevard as well at Christmas time. The way they just decorate it quite simply with the stars on the lampposts and snow falling at different times, and that can give some really interesting shots. And also the overlay that they actually put on the or they did use, I don't know whether they still do, on the tower itself with the show, and you can get some nice pictures that way.
Yeah, because it was different, and I think that's the other thing as well. If you go at Christmas, you're wanting something that's just not the ordinary bit, which is why when you get Jingle Cruise, you get even overlays on different rides. It makes it so much more memorable. I'm still being convinced on the actual Tower of Terror one, but it's different, and it creates for a different sort of narrative to your pictures, and it makes it again memorable when you come back home, doesn't it?
I think Echo Lake is normally one that I love getting reflection photos.
Yeah.
Especially at Christmas, because there's normally like baubles or a tree or there's stuff in the lake. It just creates a different thing. If you were taking a picture in June in the evening, it's going to be pretty much empty. Obviously, you're going to get Gertie the dinosaur, but it's just visiting different times of year is always going to give you a different photo opportunity.
It used to be a great. Unfortunately, it's not. You can't do it now because they don't have the fireworks. But when they used to have the Frozen fireworks or the Star Wars fireworks, and you could get the lake in between you and the fireworks, you could get some nice shots. But sadly, that's
and the silhouette of that big blue hat that used to be there as well amidst that as well. But hey, I didn't mention. I get in trouble for mentioning things that are no longer there all the time. But that's another one. Speaking of fireworks, and it's not quite fireworks-ish, but Fantasmic, I must admit, has some amazing opportunities, but you need to know and you need to actually get the exact moment. So again, it's that bit where sort of it's the sword bit with Mickey and making sure you're sat in the right place. Yes, you don't have any of the spray coming towards you. It's all about, you can take the wrong photo purely based on look, and yet one night you might turn up and the wind will be going the right way. You just sat in the right place and the photo just absolutely springs out of you. And it's just like Fantasmic is all about that. And I really enjoy the fact that, as much as I've loved taking pictures over so many years, when Josh was out there, and I think he went to see Fantasmic night after night after night, as much as he could while he was working. But you get a picture, and and obviously Fantasmic being 9 o'clock, so it was 2 a.m. by the time Fantasmic started. You get this, your phone's going mad. It's like, look, I've got this photo, and he'd actually got to that stage where he just became fascinated about getting the right picture. And I just thought, my work is done.
I've never got a good picture of Fantasmic. I'm too busy enjoying the show. So I get my phone out and I go, okay, I'll try and get a photo.
Challenge. And it was one, when you had the camera, it was much easier because the zoom on it was much better. But I really love I love that whole part of that transition, the transition of Mickey at the very end. If you even as a video, even as a series of photographs, it's the most beautiful thing to actually see and the most Disney thing to actually see. And yet you still end up with people before it ends standing up and leaving. And I'm like, where are you going? We're not. Look, you're missing this. Wait,
All to save a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and you're like, Mickey's gonna do this.
Yeah,
And you're like, oh, it's just like crackerjack stuff. You're just like, just sit down, just soak it up, will you? You know. So we've kept the best to last, in my opinion, but and actually, I actually think Animal Kingdom is possibly one place where, again, you could go 365 days of the year and you would be able to take a different photograph based on just a different layout of where the sun is in the sky, where your shade is actually falling. It's just beautiful. And that's before we get to Pandora.
I think it is just it's the most beautiful park.
Yeah.
In Walt Disney World. And I think going back to, was it our February podcast where we spent the whole show talking about Joe Rody and the development of Animal Kingdom and the attention to detail within that I don't think there's a place in that park you can take a bad photo. No. There's so much theming, levels of theming from different angles. And I know we mentioned this on before the show, but just capturing Everest is always just, every time we're in Animal Kingdom, I'll always get a photo of Everest. Obviously, it's not as good as this. But,
no, I think you're right, because it changes depending on where you're actually stood, and you'll see it differently at different times of the day as well. On you go now.
You could spend a full day just in Asia there, just around Everest. There's the way that they've done it. There's just so much content. Take pictures of different angles, from far, from near, from everywhere. Again, I try in a picture there that's not a theme park. It's, but that's the way that they've made it. It's so easy to to find those areas.
Yeah. No, absolutely amazing. And just, yeah, you get lost in Animal Kingdom when you start looking at pictures and actual photo opportunities. I often get lost on the ride itself, because you then start looking and you're looking sort of wider on the way up. You're thinking, oh right, and again, having a phone is not the right thing to have if you're going on Everest. It's a little bit. It's just, unless you don't value your phone very much, it's a little bit risky. At least if I've got a camera, I've got like strap around my neck, and actually I've got something. Actually, if I do lose the camera, it's going to just stay there. My phone is not going to do that. But looking sort of that wider sense certainly across the different hotels that you can spot in the distance, I find that quite an amazing bit. I love that bit when you get to the very top and the broken track part, and then you basically just hold on for dear life for everything for the rest of the ride. That's basically it.
There's so many trails from like the Maharaja Jungle Trek and Grey Falls that obviously animals it's amazing to take photos. Every time you walk through, it feels different. There's a different layout, different setup for you to take another shot.
Yeah, and equally, the interaction from the animals can be different as well, and also from the cast members, because actually cast members can be really, really helpful in actually getting a decent picture, because obviously they're much more in tune with the animals. And so what you'll find is, particularly in that sort of bird part, and it'll probably be to do with the fact that the birds quite like being fed and things like that, but you will get, some of the cast members will actually help in that, actually getting a decent photograph. And Another one is actually when you get to Harambe Market, and just just how vibrant that place is. But even taking pictures, and, we're talking about Magic Kingdom. You've got like the Instagram wall, but actually some of the detail in that whole Harambe area is so amazing that it's worth just photographing the walls. And I know it sounds stupid, but the detail is absolutely immense.
Yeah,
it is. It takes your breath away actually when you stand and you really look at how the hell have they done that? Yeah. But that sort of area there, when you've got the actual performing cast members as well with the music and the instruments, and this again. So I like in those sort of instances to actually stand a bit further back and then sort of punch in with a zoom, so you're not right in the middle of it all, but you can capture some great action shots of cast around Africa, and again the sunsets in that area, you can pick up some beautiful shots.
Shall I mention it then?
You're going to mention Pandora.
Pandora, because it is the most amazing thing to take a picture of, and it's just like, it doesn't matter if you're in for park opening, you're in late or whatever. And when it was dark, when the park used to open really late, and that you had the complete darkness, it was something absolutely incredible, because it just took on a totally different look, and the lighting, the actual design of it is just something that I think everybody, as you're walking into Pandora, you become just absorbed by taking more and more pictures.
You're sort of transfixed on the floating mountains. You think, how did they do that? And then it's like, because I can't work out how they've done it. I'll take a photo and try and still work out how it was done. And just trying to look into the detail even more.
I think the other thing around there as well is, yes, you are transfixed on that initially and you're looking up, but then when you look down and you see the plantation and the waterfalls and all the different sort of bridges, and you can just immerse yourself in there for a long time.
And then you get the chance to do it at night.
And then you don't know where you are.
You can't see. Oh, it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. And actually, I think one of the things I've been very critical of the shaman and things like that, in that, but if you look at actually the design into I don't really like to call it by the boat ride, because it's only like a short little, but look at the queue and look at some of the detail and some of the rope figures and some of the way that the whole area, not irrespective of both rides, has been put together and actually deliberately put together. It's actually quite stunning, and you actually really need to just again take pictures of it, because it's actually, that is what makes it stand out from any other theme park. There's little nods in there to so much about Avatar that when you start looking and you think, hang on, so that's there, and then you see it in the film, and then you think, oh, hang on a minute, so what else have I missed? And then you come back and you look again. There's the handprint one as you're coming off the ride, which I know I've mentioned before, in hidden details and things like that. It's beautiful, and it's just like, it's absolutely, that's how theme parks should be, irrespective of whatever company it is. Totally immersive, but completely sort of drawing you further and further into the story of either the area of the park or even the whole theme park itself.
Not on photography for a minute, but do you think they missed a trick there by not combining the sort of the two rides a little bit? So when you're in one queue line, you're kind of overlooking the boats going through. I think they could have. I don't know. I feel like
I could see that.
Missed a trick a little bit there.
I wonder. Then lead someone who's been rushing to Flight of Passage to then think, oh, there's another attraction.
I wonder if
we've spoken to quite a few people during the first few months of opening when we were there. We got to do the DVZ preview. that a lot of people didn't realise that there were 2 attractions in the land.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
either people have gone to Na'vi River Journey or done Flight of Passage, thinking that was the one attraction
the
of
ride,
that,
yeah.
because it wasn't. It's the way it's signposted. It's not like here is one attraction, here is the other.
Yeah.
It needs to blend together, and if you could see one from the other, then people will make that link. Oh, I'll go and explore that afterwards.
I just think in the queue line for Flight of Passage, somewhere an overlook, kind of looking down as it winds through. I mean, I guess there's always the potential for somebody to spoil it, shout something, I don't know, but I'm sure it could have been done in a way that
I wonder though, does that go into the realms of the bits where, you know, when you talk about Na'vi River Journey and it being so short, and I think the intention was for it to be a slightly longer boat ride. Maybe that's the bit that they cut because they were too focused on actually making sure that you got both ready to open at exactly the same time for opening, for when that part of the park opened. And you suddenly realize that if you're going to do that, you're going to actually you might not meet those deadlines. And let's not forget, Animal Kingdom was in desperate need of that real injection of what Pandora's brought to it, and to have done it in stages perhaps wasn't sort of viable. But I think
because that was around the same time of Rivers of Light, the original design of that, how that was supposed to have been, and then that was delayed. And that Jungle Book thing went in its interim.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, Neil, because I actually think that there definitely needs to be that they're missing that sort of joined up little part of the whole story, and it
Do you
does
think that's what will happen in future lands, that will have different aspects? You see something from one attraction that's linked to another, because we know these new lands are all going to have multiple attractions in them. When you're in Toy Story Land, you're on Slinky Dog, you can see Toy Story Mania and Alien Swirling Saucers from the queue.
Yeah, and again, you look at again going back to the People Mover and how that kind of draws together that whole Tomorrowland part of it, and that's what I think ultimately means that the People Mover becomes one of those things that everybody has to go and enjoy, because you're dipping into so many different things, and if you missed some, look, we could go and do that, and I think that it's that Easter egg thing that we become used to, isn't it? And I hope they do it. I hope they manage to find a way of actually getting that to that stage.
If you said to me I could only go into one park to do one ride and that was it, it would have to be the People Mover. I wouldn't care about anything else. I'd have to just do. In fact, Reese said to me one day he wanted a ticket that just allowed him to sit on it all day long and not do anything else.
That.
Yeah. I think
that was the first ride we did when we went into Magic Kingdom for Mickey's Not So Scary.
Yeah,
we've been in the queue. We got through, got everything. went to Casey's Corner, and it was like, okay, we need to go and do a ride. And it was like the first thing we did was People Mover, and it was just like, it was just perfect setting for the rest of the evening.
I always remember when in lockdown days when we couldn't go anywhere, and not long after the park, after the closure of the parks, I'm sure it was Resort TV One did a whole day of just going right around the People Mover again and again and again, and just streaming it live. And when you're locked in, it was such a beautiful feeling. And and even irrespective of everything that's gone on since, you become so aware of what a part of it, what a magical part of engineering it is, but just how it is so Disney, and how it is, it kind of encapsulates not just in your own mind the here and now, but also the yesterday, the today, and the tomorrow, and that it's that whole Tomorrowland thing. And it is just absolutely timeless. And I'm with everybody on this. This is just like, a beautiful way of rounding up what we've actually done in the whole show.
Okay, I think we all need to
get on the people mover. That's it.
Okay, so John, what would be your if you were going to go into a park, take one photo? What would it be?
Oh dear me. I think after this summer, it would have to be Spaceship Earth, but with the from the front of the park, and with at night time, and with the small fountain with the bit with the glass plinth at the front, because you take that with different light as well. It absolutely it was just amazing, and something I hadn't readied myself for it. But just like as you watch it, you're just like that's quite something special.
Okay. How about you, Neil?
Well, obviously, I've just been thinking about that all the time as you because I've not done it, I would like to go into Epcot and take a picture from within Moana's. But that aside, if it was just one thing and that's all you could do, I think simply because the single thing I photograph most is fireworks, and I've got thousands of probably the same shot. It would have to be something related to fireworks, and because I haven't been into Epcot, it would probably be Stood Around World Showcase. And I have before now, New Year's Eve, sat up at midday, got my spot for a midnight picture. It means that much to me, taking pictures there. So it would probably have to be that.
Where did you get your spot?
My favourite spot for taking pictures of fireworks there's a little 2 sections of wall, sort of perhaps just outside the Canada Pavilion, but just between Canada and the UK. There's two sections of wall, unobstructed. There's a beacon sort of in the middle, and if you can get there sort of early enough, you get, I'd say 99% unobstructed. So it just means that you can get everything.
I love that. So in my choice would be I'd want to go back to Magic Kingdom and take a photo at the partner statue. It's just something that we always do at the end of the trip is say goodbye to Walt and Mickey. So it's just something that I feel like a photo there with the castle. It's just a good setup.
There's no wrong answer, is there?
No, there isn't.
No. Yeah. I think that's exactly it. And I'm really surprised we actually got through so many different places. I think if you've listened and watched all of this, go back and actually just make a note of some of these places and some of these experiences, because I actually feel that we've kind of gone through at kind of a whistle stop pace in some respects, and actually there's just the one thing. It's just like, if you see something, take a picture of it and then stop a bit longer, just see if you can actually change that shot and actually do something that's a little bit
and come back at a different time of day. It's just easy. It's just, you never know, come back at a different time of day. There might be less people or more people. Just you at the end of the day, you're taking your photo for you. It's not for anyone else.
So I think that's a good way of looking at it, Ben. Just make sure it's in focus, because that's another thing that really annoys me.
And your finger's not in it.
Yes, and you don't accidentally delete it when you update your phone.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, always have a backup.
Yes. Just like, was it the Phoenicians? Yeah. Dame Judy's in my head. That's it.
Well, do you know what? I think that's a wrap for us tonight. So we hope you've enjoyed exploring some of the best places to take photos around Walt Disney World, whether you're looking after classics or looking for something a bit more unusual. So a huge thank you to John and also Neil. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Cheers, Neil. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. And also thank you for you and Karen to help with all our trip planning for our cruise. And I know there'll be another one coming up shortly.
Cool. Thank you.
So yeah, if you've got any favourite photo spots, please be sure to drop them in our Facebook community, the Wafflers Arms. We'd love to see them. And also, before you go, don't forget to check out our latest podcast where we break down all the things Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. And if you enjoyed tonight's show, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the magic with your friends. And until next time, there's one thing left to say.
We'll see you soon.
See you real
Keep
soon.
making moments into memories.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
With Portwood Travel, no less.
Wow. With the family as well.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows